Welcome to the Military Bottom Line podcast, where we help you make the most out of your military contract. Today on the show, I have my friend Sam Brandt, aka Sammy B. He's got to be one of the most influential and positive people I've ever met. This dude runs ultra marathons. He's run up to a 100-mile race, and he's really got a lot of positivity to share. And he's got a great story and has done a lot in the military. And I think you'll enjoy his story. I hope you guys stay through the end. And if you like the shows and continue to enjoy them, I hope you would consider subscribing. Hey, Sam, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Hey, I want to kind of start off and hear and get some info on your career. I know you've been out for a couple of years, but how long you were in and what you did and why you joined, kind of thing.
Whew, man. Well, I almost joined many different types of military branches. The National Guard, the Navy, and then you know what? They kept giving me the runaround, so I said, why not join the finest force, the Marine Corps? So it worked like this. I put an application in, one with the Army. This was January of 2009, and one with the Marine Corps. Said, whoever gets back to me first, I'm going to have a meeting. So 8 a.m. the next morning, Marine Corps, I get the call. Hey, this is Staff Sergeant Mann. Can you come in today? Let's talk about this. So I was 18 at the time. So I go in there and we talk about things. I'm like, yep, that's what I want to do. And I want to do something in communications field within the Marine Corps. Can I do that? And he said, absolutely. So talked with my mom and just presented it to her. But then I signed up and swore in when President Obama actually swore into his office. So, and
Cool.
his inauguration. But yeah, and then as far as like why I decided to do it, it was a multitude of reasons. One, I wanted to venture. I wanted to get out. I didn't want to be stuck in my hometown. I didn't want to not have a plan. I knew that at that time, academically, I didn't know what I wanted to study. My dad offered to pay for my schooling and everything, but I didn't really want to financially burden him and then waste his money and kind of have that guilt over my head the rest of my life.
Hmm.
So I saw the Marine Corps as an opportunity to get me out, give me exposure, develop me as a leader, and knew that at that time my sister was pursuing her undergraduate work and also to be a physician assistant. So I knew it was better for my parents to focus on her and get her through schooling. So I did that, and that was a big bulk of the reason, just being able to be independent at such a young age that you can't really get that level unless you go into the military.
Definitely.
So
So you
yeah,
ended
man.
you ended up as a what was it, field radio operator?
Field radio operator. Funny story about that, man. Did I tell it to you before?
You may have, but let's hear it again.
Okay. So I was actually thinking about being an on-air personality, like on a radio station. So you know where this is going.
I-
I didn't yeah. I like visited radio stations and I'm like, all right, like I could do this when I get off of the military. And so I told the recruiter, I was like, yeah, I need something like, well, communications, will that be applicable to like work on a radio station when I get out? And the recruiter, he fooled me. He said, yeah, perfect, transferable. And then I'm in the Marine Corps dealing with 50-year-old radios. And I'm like, whatever. But
not the same radio you had envisioned, huh?
no, we were apparently the recruiter and I were on two different frequencies. So yeah, needless to say, it ended up being good, but that's kind of how I got my foot in the door and just really wanted the leadership and the independence and the opportunity to travel.
Cool, cool. Do you feel like you got those opportunities? I mean, you did a total of what, 4 years?
Did a well, 4 active duty years, and I did a year in the reserves.
Okay.
So yeah. I mean, if you'd asked me that when I first entered in and they told me I was going to Afghanistan, I'd be like, no, I didn't get those opportunities. But looking back, I've got those opportunities and more. So the Marine Corps has been good to me, and being a veteran's been good as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you ended up in Afghanistan like pretty quickly after hitting the fleet, right?
Yeah, it was. I got to my unit, first Intel Battalion, and this was March of 2010. I get there and I'm with them for about a solid month. And then they're like, oh, yeah, you're actually getting put with this sector inside of Intel Battalion called CI, Counter Intel. So I joined up with them. And then the first week of May of 2010, they said, oh, yeah, we're going to be deploying September 5th of 2010. And I was like, whew, wow, this got real quick.
Yep. Yep.
So, I started doing all the workups, training, shooting ranges, all that good stuff. And then we deployed. So, crazy journey from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, you did a total of 2 deployments, right?
Correct. Two
And
tours, and I had some temporary assignments as well.
okay, did you feel like between workups and deployments, you had enough time in garrison to kind of plan for your future and maybe take advantage of opportunities, or were you pretty swamped
Uh,
with the work?
yeah, that's why I would say it was hard. So the first deployment, I get in there, and so about 2 years, I'm already have been deployed, and then I have a 9-month break, and then I'm deployed again for
Mm,
7 more months. So I would say I didn't have as much time as somebody that was in a non-deployable unit or just didn't deploy,
yeah,
because a lot of it's like by the time you get involved, maybe in tuition assistance or something like that, then you have to put it on hold. And for me, I like to have a plan to be able to continue out these processes. So I didn't get to do that, but it all worked out. So
hmm
that was one thing I was trying to take advantage of, was TA, but it was just the timing of events and workups, and then not being able to have the ability. Some people did in Afghanistan. I did not have the ability to be like, oh yeah, I have internet service to work
yeah,
on a.
yeah.
So
I mean, on the other side of that coin, I feel like, being deployed, I know you're pretty, financially savvy and stuff. So was that a good opportunity for you to minimize expenses and maximize savings kind of thing? Or how do you feel like that affected your future financially that
yeah,
the time?
definitely good to, obviously you're not spending a lot other than car payment or anything else that you might have to make a payment on while you're gone. And it gave me the opportunity. My second deployment, I started to get interested in the stock market. And
Mm,
so I did have the opportunity where I had solid internet for a month. And so I was able to get involved, and I did Scott Trade at that time, was my trading company, and started doing stocks. So that was pretty neat. And I still do stocks today, but with Robinhood.
Did you have a mentor that was helping you out with that, or were you just kind of?
No, I just read up about companies, started investing in Ford, and um, started investing in Green Mountain Coffee Roasters,
Yeah, I remember
Pandora
that.
Radio,
Yeah.
and a couple of other companies. And I just read up about them, kind of their history, and made a decision from there to invest in them, and invested, I think, like 2 grand, and walked away with 6,500. So, uh,
Sweet.
yeah, so it wasn't too bad.
Do you feel like that's common, for Marines to take it upon themselves to learn that kind of thing while in deployment, or do you think you'll feel like you're an anomaly in that?
Yeah, I'd say it's few. It's a rarity. I think most people are sitting back. You're on deployment. It's easy to be like, oh yeah, I want to buy this, and I want to get this new Camaro when I get back, and I want to
Mm,
get this. Instead of, we're not thinking about, all right, why don't I try to just get the things that I need, the car that's going to get me from point A to point B, and how do I make this great financial situation of making this extra money tax free and capitalize on it for my future. And that's where the ground gets shaky between those that pursue
mm,
that and those that pursue just trying to blow their money in any way, shape, or form.
yeah. So how do you feel like like what set you up and what made you want to seek more information and learn about that opportunity?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
and
I
and
think,
how could you influence somebody else, that may have that chance but kind of may not be thinking about it?
yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna go back to Jocko Willink and say discipline equals freedom here.
I like
Uh,
it.
it's being disciplined in the moment. I mean, in time and times again, I work from home currently right now. It's so easy for me to be like, oh yeah, let me buy this and buy that.
Mm,
I'm saving money, but we need to capitalize on the situation currently. And so that is the mindset that we have to have. We have these thoughts that go through our mind and want to do this and that, but is this serving a purpose, and will it benefit us? Obviously there's things that we need,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's things that we want, and how do we, take care of the needs, minimize the wants, and to capitalize on a life that's freedom, basically financial freedom, and not like down the road scrambling and everything. So that was my desire. As far as your question about the being a mentor, I think it's sharing that with other military folks that are in the military. And right now I'm working with a young guy. He's getting ready to go into the Marine Corps, and so I'm imparting some of my knowledge from the Marine Corps that I learned, and just to get him prepped as far as, hey, these are the opportunities you can take advantage of. Because as I know, we get in there and it's like 0 to 60 and it's real quick, and you get all this information thrown at you, and then it's like, whew, trying to digest it all.
Yeah.
And so I think that's big. That's why I like your podcast, because it helps give military men and women a cue up on like, oh, wow, yeah, I can pursue and get TA, or I could do, other things. The single Marine program was a big thing that I took advantage of while I was in. So
give a little insight on the single Marine program, because I took like maybe 1 or 2 different trips with them, but give kind of explain that to us.
So the
pretty cool.
single Marine program is for military men and women to take advantage of. Obviously, they don't have families, and the single Marine program caters to them. Usually on the bases, they have a building carved out, and they have TV, all kinds of stuff, food, game systems, and it's a place to just come, decompress after work, build friendships. That's why I really liked it. And then on top of that, they have super good deals on trips, and I took advantage of a couple of them. Went to Big Bear twice. I think it was $80 for the whole day, including all my gear to snowboard.
Nice.
So fabulous deals. And then just the community of getting to know other people at the same time. So that was a real nice benefit. And they're also positive activities. So they're nothing crazy like we see on a typical Friday in the Marine Corps.
Yeah. It's definitely more like gives the opportunity to, kind of a home away from home, a living room feel.
Exactly.
But yeah, I remember I took at least 1 trip. I definitely did a whitewater rafting trip with them up in Northern California. It was great. It was like an overnight, super cheap, but definitely something to take advantage of. So.
And then there's the other things that we have on base of going to the I don't know the name off the top of my head, but basically there's a center on base, and you can get discounted tickets to SeaWorld, to Disney World.
Information, tickets, and travel.
Yeah,
ITT.
Travel Center. Yeah, ITT. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. That's what I'm looking for. So that place was a huge thing to take advantage of, to get out and do other awesome adventures.
Yeah, and save money,
And save money, yeah.
Money that you can then throw into your Robinhood account and, build upon.
Robinhood or the Thrift savings plan.
Yeah. There's tons of options, man. Tons of options.
There is.
Did you utilize the Thrift savings plan at all, the TSP?
I did. And the sad part is I didn't make that much money because I wasn't knowledgeable. Yeah. I think I made like $5,000 for the time that I was in the Marine Corps. Yeah. Which I'll give you a perspective on that. Currently at my work, I started off with them last year and I invested $85, and 6% of my pay every paycheck, but now I've got close to $5,000 and I'm under a year. So I also invested real aggressively too. The thing that I would do differently is I would probably put more funds in an aggressive account to build up quicker, because I had it in like a government fund, and it was like stable, secure. There wasn't any worry. And so I would have done that differently a little bit.
I remember during boot camp when they initially gave you that presentation on the TSP, the Thrift Savings program, and I had never heard of it, and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, set up this allotment, and this will come out of your paycheck." And to me, it was super sketchy at the time, so I didn't sign up for it.
Okay.
For a very long time, I just set up a Roth IRA shortly after hitting the fleet, which is basically the same, except for now the TSP is part of the retirement program.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a whole another topic. But
Ross are good. Yeah.
it is, yeah, for sure, good opportunity to save and prepare for the future. But
Nice.
so yeah, so you also said you did a year of reserves. How does that work? Like, was that an additional year contract or?
No. So what happens is I got out of the military in August of 2013. And I know one of your previous episodes was on about taking advantage of the terminal leave, which
Mm,
I did 23 days. So I
nice.
used that, and then I took about a 7-month break, and then it was February of 2014, and I was like, let me see what this whole Marine Corps Reserve thing's about, and do it. So I got involved and contacted a prior service recruiter, and then I joined up with Second Civil Affairs Unit in I'm trying to think of the Air Force Base, but it's down in Washington D.C., so
Okay.
close to Fort Andrew.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I did that and got to be part of it as a sergeant.
But you only did it for a year, because so from what I understand, every initial military contract is actually 8 years. So
Mm-hmm.
you did it's 4 active and then 4 within the individual ready reserves.
Correct.
So within that IRR time, you kind of have the freedom and flexibility to kind of try out some reserve time. Is that why you only did a year and you said it's not for me?
Yeah. So it was pivotal because I didn't sign a contract with that unit. So I
Hmm.
was drilling, and I pretty much, the ball was in my court. If I like it, I'll stay. If not, then I'll move on. And so I got what I wanted out of the Marine Corps, and they paid for me to go to take corporal's course. I did that, picked up sergeant, and then I just felt there was going to be a lot of movement in my life as far as where I would be. So I didn't want to permanently be tied down to them. And
Hmm.
so I found out that I was going to be moving to Wilmington, North Carolina. And I could have transferred to a different reserve unit, but at that time, education was my big pursuit. So I wanted to have all my energy focused on that.
For sure. So
Yeah.
did they even try to make you sign a contract or?
They they brought it up, and I think there was maybe a couple, they were trying to chuck some money at me, a couple
Mm,
grand or something. But yeah,
yeah.
I just didn't want to do it at the time. So
Yeah,
that's how I got the flexibility to be like, all right, yeah, I've had enough.
for
So
sure.
that's the key.
And because of your frugality earlier on, them, waving a couple $1,000s in front of your face was not as tempting because you'd planned accordingly.
Yeah, it was that. And I mean, money's nice, but obviously there's a commitment I have to make to them to be part of that unit for X amount of years.
Yeah,
It's just like currently right now I'm seeking out the chaplaincy program. They're offering to pay 20 grand back in student loans if I give
cool.
them 3 years of commitment,
Wow,
which,
that's not a bad deal.
yeah, so it's not a
A
bad deal.
3-year job. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm eyeing it up and considering it and looking at other opportunities as well, as far as in regards to the military. But I mean, you have to look at it. It's easy to see dollar symbols in our
Mm,
eyes, and you
yeah.
have to step away and say, like, am I ready? This commitment, can I handle this? Am I ready to be tied down to this unit?
Yeah.
It's like a relationship. So you want to make sure that you're able to maintain it and it's healthy at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. How do you feel like, on the macro scale, how, your short time in the military has positively impacted you for the duration of your life kind of moving forward and thus far?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I take away, and I use it in the workplace, is I'm adaptable.
Mm,
One word, adaptability. And so that has proven to be so good for me. As you know, in the Marine Corps, in the military, we're constantly going. You get done with chow, and, oh, yeah, you're actually getting a temporary assignment. You're going to move here in 2 days. All
yeah.
right, I'm going to start packing.
Yeah.
So that kind of, once you get that mindset of just like, I'm going to adapt to whatever's thrown
Mm,
after me, it's so positive. And I've seen that bloom into my professional career as a civilian, where like I'm the first to do this and that, and then my boss sees me and he's like, dude, you're killing it, man. Like, thank you so much. I need somebody to speak up. I need somebody to ask a question.
yeah.
And so doing that, or I needed somebody to take charge and lead a PowerPoint presentation. That's what I'm doing this week. And so, that helps you shine when you get that mentality down. That's not like the timid and fear. Should I ask a question? It's like, I'm eager to learn. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to ask it. If it's something you already repeated, so be it.
Yeah.
But I'm here to give it my all. And so that's been a huge benefit. And I think for anyone in the military, if you can capitalize on that, other than complaining and being like, I'm going to be deployed or I'm going to get a temporary assignment. If you can be like, oh, well, I'm going to get a temporary assignment. I'm going to make per diem.
Yeah.
Whoo, let's bank some money and let's figure out a strategy on how do we make our income work for us.
Yeah.
So that's what I've seen.
That's definitely one thing that over the years of knowing you has set you apart from others. I mean, you are so positive, no matter what gets thrown at you. I remember you got sent to 29 Palms for a couple
Yep.
months, and you
Yep.
were fired up about it, and most people would be not so enthused. So
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the outlook, right? And I choose to have a positive outlook, and I choose not to let things bog me down. And it's like, cool, I'm going to 29 Palms. There's a national park there, Joshua Tree. I'm going to be
yeah,
hiking that, and it brought me so many opportunities, made good friendships, and continued to talk to some of those Marines that I met with, almost a decade ago. So it's good, and that really, when you have that mentality, you can see a lot more opportunities
mm,
versus if I have a narrow lens and I'm just like 29 Palms, there's nothing to do there. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's desert and that's it. But
yeah,
I had fun. There was a drive-in movie theater and got to go rock climbing and do all these cool activities. And so I challenge people, military men and women, to expand your sight to see the bigger picture when it comes to
definitely.
these places. And I think you can do that with any military base. I mean, there's positive things to get involved with. And so let's focus on those and, contribute. One of my coolest things is I got to work under a chaplain while I was at this temporary assignment. I was a assistant children's director of the ministry there. So,
Mm,
I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And so it was really neat just to make an impact like that.
yeah. And so it sounds like that opportunity may have even impacted where you think you might go for your career, right?
Yeah. I mean, who knows that I would be this deep in as far as the educational pursuits and
Yeah.
academia. But yeah, it definitely, when I look back on my life and I'm like, wow, God was guiding me to this and I did this. At
Mm,
that time, I would say like, nah, I'm not going to get in ministry by any means.
yeah.
But yeah, it's made an impact. And, just the ministry that you and I got to be part of has made an even bigger impact on my life as far as trying to help those military men and women to not get caught up in some of these snares that are in the
Mm,
military. Unfortunately, some of it's derived in the culture, and just to make the most of it. Hopefully, my prayer is that they encounter Christ while they're in, because I came in not as a believer, and I thank God every day that
yeah.
he picked me up, dusted me off, and guided me on the right road, because I was definitely going down the wrong one.
Yeah. Which may seem harmless at the time, but a lot of young military guys and gals get wrapped up in the wrong thing, and before you know it, they do something stupid, and it's affecting their whole career, and you know, it's
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
can go south quick if you get wrapped up with the wrong people. So
Yeah, it can affect. I mean, I've witnessed a whole bunch of people lose rank, get out other than honorable discharge. So our whole vision and goals for somebody entering in is to capitalize and become out
mm,
better than they were when they entered, or
yeah,
else it's not the military failed you, you failed the military.
yeah, absolutely. I believe every opportunity is one to be leveraged, and
Yeah,
built into something greater for your future. So totally agree.
amen.
But despite you being, like I said, one of the most positive people, I've come across through the Marine Corps, I'm still curious what you would say. I don't want to say what would you complain about, but like what are some of the downsides, even from somebody with so much optimism? What are
As
some of
far
the
as
downsides of
the
the military?
military,
Yeah, to make sure people don't think it's all, you know, candy and unicorns.
oh no. I mean, I think the biggest thing is that we have to make ourselves aware of the commitment we make, the oath that we take to be in the military. Yes, you get extremely good benefits and health coverage and other opportunities and education. But at the same time, I don't care if you're in a non-deployable unit or whatever, we have to say in our minds that there is a time that we could deploy. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be ready for that. And that's where I saw a lot of people that it brought them down. It bogged them down in some way. Hard parts in the military for me was mentorship. That was a hard thing that I never actually had a solid person as far as in the military that I worked with as far as being a mentor to me. And I think there's a lot of communication issues in the military too, which we've all seen leads to a whole heap of problems and,
Yeah.
directions. So those kind of things as well. But I think overall, I mean, I don't have any too many big issues that have
Yeah.
really blocked me from a lot of opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So I was
Just
able to meet.
Yeah, just frustrating at the time, but
Yeah, I mean, I think there's all those moments you're frustrated. Maybe you have to stay late because you're doing a gear inspection tomorrow or something
mm-hmm.
like that. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
they'll quickly rob you of your liberty, your liberty
yeah,
being
at
your
that, and then I
time
say
off.
that, and then next thing you know, I'm only working from 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
still doing all that stuff
Mm,
and pursuits. So yeah, can't complain too much.
for sure. So, do you have any regrets about your time in or your career,
Regrets.
or things that
I
you wish you'd
don't.
done differently in any way?
Um, I think as far as what I would have done differently, I would have. I mean, I'm trying to think. That's a tough question, for me at least,
Mm,
because I don't have anything that's been a big issue since I've been out that's caused me to think differently on that.
yeah.
I guess if I would have done something differently while I was in, I would have tried to see about maybe just more awareness as far as the Marine Corps education goes,
Mm,
all of that. And I think it's important for any military person to think always, how can I better myself fitness wise, education wise, because that's what sets you apart from other people while you're in.
yeah.
So I would have changed that to be sooner. Like I would have probably started studying more MCIs when I was on my first deployment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that, and it's just seeking it. Like the thing that Marine Corps taught me is to be relentless. And
Mm,
so when one officer or one sergeant or somebody that was above me would say like, "Oh, I don't know," then I'm like, "All right, cool. I'm gonna find an answer out. I'll drive to building whatever. Hello, you know
uh-huh.
what's going on." And so that helped me out, and that's how I found like a lot of information and all these other opportunities stem from that relentless of not letting up when somebody doesn't know or they just say no.
Yeah.
So that helped me out a lot.
I know you've been running some ultra marathons and some crazy races, man. Like
Crazy.
crazy stuff that I would never attempt to do. Like what's the longest one you've done?
One hundo, three
One
100s.
hundo. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like 24 hours straight or something crazy.
Yeah, my longest one ended up taking me close to 25 hours, but yeah, they've all been pretty. My quickest one was 21 hours and
That's
some change.
unreal.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
do you feel like you had that mindset and that drive before, or is that more of a recent?
Hmm. As far as to be able to run like that?
Yeah, just that mental fortitude to push through, those barriers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that I had when I got into the Marine Corps. As I got in, I started just developing it more. And, you know, in perspective, I did my first marathon when I was 19. And I learned about it 2 weeks prior to even knowing what a marathon was. And I was just like, that sounds cool. Sounds like a cool challenge.
Yeah.
And of course, I told my mom, and she's like, what? People train like a year or 6 months. And I know. And I'm like, I got 2 weeks. So yeah, I don't know. I think I was just like, I like to do different things and challenge my mind and my body. And so yeah, I harnessed that, and then I got in the ultra marathon scene when I got off of active duty.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
What kind of advice would you give to those that are considering joining and maybe early in their career?
The advice that I would give, and I speak with a great perspective, just guiding this young, soon to be
Mm,
to Marine, is that ask people questions, speak to people that have served in this service before. I mean, recruiters are great, but they have a little bit of a biased opinion.
sure.
Obviously, I'm trying to you'll find some good ones. There are some great recruiters, but make sure this is something that you want to do. There's no guarantees that you will never deploy. So don't do it like, I'm going to do this job,
Mm,
I'm not going to get deployed. So there's no guarantees in that. And just, it's a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice, and you have to have that foresight to be like, oh yeah, after 4 or 5 years, man, this is going to pay off. And I can honestly attest to that, as the Marine Corps has picked up the tab and 3 degrees for myself, and
mm,
paid me to go to school when I was out. And so that's been a huge blessing. But you want to give it your all when you're in, and you want to contribute positively to the Corps, whether that's developing other leaders. I had the privilege of working with folks that were overweight in the military
mm.
and helping them get down to the health and fitness standards the Marine Corps has for their particular age. So it was things like that, and that helps set you apart. It's easy, yeah. You can skate in the Marine Corps and do things and never, get promoted as often, and just walk by and hide
Yeah.
behind the curtain. But for me to say that story when I get out, to even call myself a veteran, knowing that I would carry on like something like that in the military, I mean, I would feel so guilty.
Yeah.
But I can look back and say, yeah, I gave the Marine Corps my all. I helped develop other leaders. I'm
Yep.
still doing that when I'm out, because I still have a commitment to represent the Marine Corps, honor, courage, and commitment. And I still embody those things. When people ask me, I take great pride in what I've done, and helping others wrestle through that. Is the military for me? Is
Mm,
it for me for a long-term goal? I mean, if you go in with the mindset of, I'm going to capitalize on my time in the military in every way possible, you will be great. But if you go in and you get your feelings hurt and somebody's words, I mean, you'll get bogged down. It's
hmm.
not a place to do that. It's a place to excel and to develop yourself and your character and keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
So
So
that's what I would say.
that's gold right there, man. What I took from that is that your experience in the military is completely dependent on you and your attitude.
Yeah, I mean, that is truly it. It's oneself and their attitude to make the best and seize the opportunities. And of course, there's bad leaders in the military, but we can't let that hold us back from us being a great leader and
Mm,
developing other people. So
I love it.
yeah,
Awesome, man. That's a good place to end right there.
yes,
I
sir.
I appreciate you sharing your story and bringing your positivity to the podcast here
Dude,
for
you know it,
everybody.
man. Thanks for having me on. I hope this changes many lives, and I'm going to tell people to listen to it that are thinking about going to the military, or just that are in and need educated.
Thanks, man. And I know that you are going to be bringing your positivity to light in your own podcast here next
Woo!
next week. It's out.
And try to get first episode launched off the ground, man.
Yep.
Warrior for Christ.
Warrior for Christ. Check out wherever it is going to be next week.
All
All
right, brother. Take care, Jason.
right, man. Good to see you.
God bless. Bye.